Hello, everyone. Today we're joined again by Mr. Christian Lang. Sumkol Bengus is his kennel name, and he is an SV judge and Körmeister. And this is a great opportunity to see how the sausage is made because he was one of the alternate judges this year for the Bundesliga Zuchtschau or the German Sieger Show 2023, which is the largest single breed event in the world. How are you doing, Mr. Lang?
Thank you. Thank you. I'm fine. I hope you are fine too, and it's nice to be here again.
Thanks very much. Likewise. Would you please shed some highlight on the German Sieger Show for this year, please?
Yeah, well, the German Sieger Show is my daughter is visiting us.
Hello.
So the German Sieger Show is, of course, the largest breed event, as you already mentioned, and there is a reason why. Since this year, it's also called the World Championship Show. Every class winner will be named world champion from this year. So we noticed in the last years already that the numbers of shown dogs from foreign countries and from Germany are more than half from the foreign countries instead of Germany. So that makes it for us a world championship show, and this is the event we every breed enthusiast should be attend, at least on the online possibilities.
It should be a bucket list event for any German Shepherd enthusiast if they can make it to this event. My question regarding the world champion title would be to go in the direction of, we have always called the German Sieger also as the Weltsieger or the World Sieger or the World Winner. Maybe it was colloquially, but now it's he's getting an elevated business card, let's say. But it used to be a rule, or an unwritten rule, I should say, that the dog had to be shown at least 3 times in Germany before to the judge. So if it is a world championship, for example, if there's just to throw it out there, if there's a dog that is coming from, let's say, Australia or Indonesia or India or wherever, from the far side of the world to Europe to Germany, will that dog be subject to that three event before the championship rule as well? Or is it like the Olympics that you can compete in your country, get selected in your country, and then directly compete in the main event?
You can definitely compete in Germany without any restriction. The rule we have established a couple of years ago, that the dog has to be shown under 3 different judges, is that the dog needs to be shown to be in the top group. And this is no clear regulation if it means the top 10, if it means the top 20, top 30, top 50. That belongs to the judge himself. And of course, if a dog from, as you said, Australia or Indonesia would compete in Germany at the World Championship Show, and he was before with SV judges, then these rules will be looked as fulfilled as well.
Okay, no, that's a very interesting point, because I don't think a lot of people were aware of this. And thank you for bringing that to light. My next question would be in accordance to the Sieger Show, the titles that we always had this rule as long as I've been doing the sport or been in the sport, is you need a minimum of IGP2 to make a VA title, for instance, and a breed survey. And you must come from titled parents who have breed surveys in order to achieve the breed survey, all done under the guidance or the umbrella of the SV. But we have seen a lot of dogs in the years before us, before this year, that have had FCI titles, that have had titles from the countries of their own judges, maybe not exactly SV judges, but the dogs are of the highest caliber. And those dogs were sometimes overlooked, sometimes they were not overlooked. There was not a clear way to pinpoint, all right, I've fulfilled these requirements, and am I good to go to be considered for the highest position? Of course, we're talking about the working class at this point, which is the working class with IGP or IPO titles or herding titles, if that might require that. Also, we have an alternative way coming with the ZTP or the ZTP to make a breed survey, what about those dogs? How would those dogs be considered for the top positions?
All right. We couple of years ago we established that the first 30 can only be entered by dogs with consecutive parents and grandparents, breed survey and trial by SV regulations. The thing with the FCI trials is a complex issue. We hopefully will solve with the new SV board now, because they are working on the how the SV and the FCI will get a better cooperation. And for me personally, if an FCI judge does a trial in a foreign country and says this dog is IGP 1, 2, or 3, then this has also to count in Germany. But this is a critical issue. It was brought up by the former SV board, probably certain persons in that board. Also, the WUSV has a different opinion about that, and we try to solve these issues. The couple of years ago, we also had the problem that the grandparent, if the grandparents are not breed surveyed, and then the dog cannot be in among the first 30 as well. I guess 2 years ago we skipped that again. The board of the SV skipped that again. Maybe because of certain dogs. I wasn't happy with doing a decision one way, taking it back 2 years later. It causes confusion and nothing else. We need a straight line to follow. Yeah. The next thing you asked, the ZAP, it's a German thing, ZAP. And as long as the ZAP is not recognized worldwide, also with FCI, we might get problems allowing the dogs with the ZAP to receive the highest grades in the Sieger shows. Because, for example, if a dog with only ZAP goes to a foreign country where the ZAP is not allowed by the FCI, the dog is non-titled. So that's a thing we also need to solve. And about 2 or 3 years ago, there was on the general meeting, we tried to to make the ZAP a higher level, that dogs with ZAP also can go VA, but the general meeting did not follow that. So with ZAP, you can get a V rating. It doesn't matter. You can go V1, but you can't go VA.
So if we have a dog, let's say it comes from Mongolia or wherever, outside of Germany, outside of Europe, that is not privy to the privilege of having clubs everywhere and being able to be immersed in the culture of the club culture that Germany has, where the dogs have a really easy path to get titled in a short period of time, and a dog has fulfilled all the criteria as an individual itself, that he has the ZAP and all that stuff, but his parents are not titled, for instance, and it comes from outside German breeding, outside the purview of German breeding, but it's an FCI club, the registration, everything is acceptable. Would that dog be at least able to make up to V1 in the German Sieger Show?
he could go V, but I think with the current situation, he could not be among the first 20 or 30 V. I think he has I don't think that he can go to the top V group.
But would that not defeat the purpose of harmonization?
Yeah, true, but the harmonization started a couple of years ago. We had I guess we had a deadline up to 25, I guess.
Sure.
So yeah. It's a I think the harmonization needs to be worked on. We don't we can't we can't ban all the dogs from the foreign countries that don't fill all the requirements. But at a certain point, when it comes to the to those who do all the have all the regulations, who have everything that's needed to be the gold standards, then it also has to be shown in the placement.
So would we not consider that lowering of the actual standard? So we always have maintained that we have a very high standard of dogs in Germany that's always a cut above than the rest of the world because of the generations and generations upon generations of work that's been done with the dogs and documentation, of course, that follows that. But when we try and bring everybody else in the fold, let's say we have Egypt and Nigeria and other African countries coming, or Southeast Asian countries or South American countries coming into the fold, which have quite different regulations than Germany and quite lax as compared to Germany, the breeding standards, would that not be lowering the overall standard of the breed at the highest level, of course? We've seen it before with the French dogs coming in and the Spanish dogs coming in here and there when they're sprinkled across for the last 15, 20 odd years that I've been involved with the breed.
I'm not sure if we can say that everywhere outside Germany is that low that we can't compare it. I think
I want to rephrase that so I don't upset the rest of the world. I want to say that there's no clear documentation like there is in Germany and in the German system.
Yeah, but that's the harmonization. That's what we try to establish, and that's what we need to work on. And the thing is that some organizations, WUSV clubs, they don't want to follow it because they say it's not possible in our country, it's not possible in our system. And I guess this is also some work the new SV and WUSV board needs to face.
So I'll give you an example of India, for instance. There's tracking is an integral part of IGP. We cannot have an IGP title without tracking, and tracking requires a lot of open land. Germany, of course, has a land versus population ratio, which is quite feasible for tracking, but it shrinks day by day. Also in the United States, in the middle of the United States, you have a lot of available tracking since there's not a lot of people in the middle of the United States. But on the coast, we suffer from the same problem, like, let's say New York or in California. California is dry, arid land. New York, you've got a very high concentration of population or high population density. Similarly, in India, I think India and China have the highest population density in the world. Urban areas, wherever there's open lands, they're being converted into apartment complexes and housing and all that stuff to make way for urbanization. So tracking is greatly diminished in the modern world, so to speak, wherever there's higher population. And these countries host a giant population of German Shepherds also. So to bring those dogs in the fold, let's say education apart. Of course, there's also a lack of education for the sport in countries like India and China, I would say. It's not to the same level as the United States or Europe. But to bring these people in the fold, would we need to go an alternative route, like maybe like detection work or nose work instead of tracking? Would that something be of consideration to bring these people to test the dog's nose, so to speak? But with the lack of land and the lack of resources to bring these dogs up to the competition.
Sounds good to me. I'm pretty sure that the harmonization with thinking the standard from Germany will fit in every part of the world is not the right way. We need to find solutions to adjust the harmonization to what's possible, and to find ways to for other ways, like you said, to other ways to find out if a dog is still, if a German Shepherd dog is still capable of doing what he's bred for in the beginning. But what the harmonization tried to do is, we have a system here in Germany. We want to put it over Nigeria, New Zealand, wherever it would work. And I guess that needs to be a little adjusted, yes.
So let's talk about, the event itself, the German Sieger Show this year. It was in the city of Nuremberg and at the Grand Stadium in Nuremberg, which is a very iconic location for generations in Germany. A lot of Sieger shows have happened there. And could you please talk a little bit about the organization and the venue itself?
The venue is well known. The stadium is a beautiful location, of course. The parking situation is, well, we have a lot of space for all the classes, for everything. That's no problem. The problem is that less people can afford to be there. Everything got very expensive. Getting to Germany is expensive. For the people in Germany, it's expensive to spend it there. So the spectators, the people who show the dogs, got less. So if you have a stadium for around 50,000 people, and there are only, let's say 2,000 or 5,000 maybe in it, then it's maybe a little bit too big for the situation itself. And of course, we also need to face the financial thing. A stadium that size will also cost the club and everybody a lot of money.
I also, on social media, you always see these photos of, look, the stadium is empty and this and that. I don't think a lot of people around the world understand how big the stadium actually is. And the photos when they post from the inundated crowds that they post from are from different venues. It's not from Nuremberg.
Yeah, that's true. But of course, when I see those pictures also, and of course I have also been there, the crowds were different 30, 40 years ago.
Sure.
That's a fact. You can't deny.
The world was a lot different 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Like we spoke in our last conversation. Yeah.
And that's a fact you can't deny. It's of course when you have, for example, on the Friday you have the bite work in the main stadium, and there are a few people sitting there. It looks like it's about 100 sitting in a stadium where 50,000 people can sit. Yeah. So of course this looks empty, and it is empty. Yes. Compared to former times, it's empty. Nothing I can tell you to make it look better. It is what it is.
So how do you suggest we rectify that?
I think smaller stadiums need to be in the focus. as we had in Ulm. Ulm is a super venue, but Ulm is difficult with the stadium being in the city and everything. That's difficult. But there are definitely other venues also that we need to find, and we need to have people there where the venue is willing to do to play their part in the organization as well. That's difficult as well.
Well, people also need to always remember this at the end of the day is a volunteer organization, and this is done at the head of the volunteers. Nobody's getting paid for this work.
There will be some people who get paid, of course.
Sure.
but the people who do the main organization, they don't get paid for it.
Yes.
They try
that's
to find
what I mean.
the best way. That they try to find the best ways. Also, this year they tried to do the best. And at the end of the day, we had the Sieger show ending at 9 o'clock in the night. So something went wrong.
I would also say that this year was uncharacteristically hot for Germany at the time of the Sieger show. Normally, we say if there's no rain, there's no Sieger show. And we had a Sieger show this year in a heat wave. The apparent Siegerin was pulled because of a heat stroke, which is not normal for Germany this time of the year. So blame it on climate change, blame it on organization, whatever it might be. I think it was better to bring the Sieger show into the nighttime, so the temperatures are not so high for the dogs to literally drop dead.
The thing that it went to nighttime wasn't intended by anybody.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't because of the weather.
I see. Okay.
It started in the morning, and the time schedule just didn't work. So that was the fact. Of course, the weather situation this year was really difficult. Nobody could have foreseen that. You can't plan a temperature like that.
Absolutely.
But you need what we need to learn from this year's Sieger show is that it can happen.
Yeah.
And that we need plans if it happens that way again.
Sure.
Because it was nothing else than luck that that female leading the working class didn't die. So
yes.
And that would have caused a really bad taste for everybody.
Oh, absolutely, especially for the poor dog.
Yeah, that's definitely. But for the whole show, for the organization, nobody could have be blamed for it. But
no.
Yeah, luckily it turned out halfway good. Yeah.
I would like to ask you, what do you think are the trends that are happening in the German Shepherd? I remember dogs like Iso from Bergmannshof, running. There's plenty of videos for people to watch on YouTube and elsewhere on the internet of the dog running with, when you look at the type of the dog, the movement of the dog, how the dog is covering ground, the firmness of the dog, how the back is. It's a completely different picture from some of the winners of these days. Would you like to comment on where we are trending as a breed?
The current situation of the breed is the result of the last 20 years.
Yeah.
You can't change anatomy, type, and substance within 2 or 3 years. So we are facing now the situation the last 20, 30 years leading to now. It's we can't discuss the current dogs themselves, because that's what we have right now. The only thing we can do is to try to stop the over exaggeration. What we already did this year, and we try to we judges need to focus and to evaluate what is the way we want to follow. Where should the breed be in the next 5 or 10 years, and then we will need to follow it and to do our best to get it better.
We say, as we are eating right now, the proverbial fruits of the seeds that were sown in the past. So we see loss of ancestors, for example. We talk about Remo as a great producer and Vegas as a great producer in our breed, or I should say influential producer for people that have a different opinion of the fact. But the problem it has created is we have a limited number of ancestors in the top groups of dogs because only dogs coming from these dogs were recently promoted. And which is, like you said, is a big problem that we need to address because the exaggeration is coming from these dogs as well. Because I'm not saying we can single-handedly blame Vegas for the overangulation problem or the ears or something like that, but it is a major contributing factor. When we look at top dogs from, let's say, the time of Esko Dänischenhof, I remember he was considered to be an extreme dog in his time, Esko Dänischenhof, or about the hind angulation. And now when we look at the hind angulation today, it's a completely different story. He looks very moderate compared to the dogs of today.
Yeah, sure. I think we can't blame a single dog.
Sure.
There have been several judges that decided that these dogs should have influence in the breed.
Sure.
And we had a real big bunch of breeders who thought the same.
Yeah.
So it's not the judge's decision, it's the breeder's decision.
Always, absolutely.
That's the thing we need to face. The breeders need to rethink how the dogs should look like.
No matter who's the winning dog, nobody can hold your hand to go breed to that dog. That's the breeder's choice.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And of course, it's our judges' responsibility to at least tell the breeders this is a good idea or it's a bad idea. What they do about it, that's a different hand. That's a different thing.
In your breeding program, to personalize this, how have you been able to keep your dogs moderate with the trend of all these exaggerated dogs going on? Because your dogs are not known to be so exaggerated.
Yeah, I'm happy about that my dogs are not that extreme. How did I manage it? My breeding line is going back to the beginning of the 90s, and I tried to I tried to stay away from the extremes, let's say. Yeah, it's in the mid 90s or in the end 90s, I who did I use? I had Orbit Tronje in my line, who was for me a moderate dog.
Yeah. A very underrated and a very underappreciated dog of his time, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the same. I think he was very, very moderate in construction and everything. I like the dog very much. I used Quen at his time because he was not over-angulated at all. Yeah, and from that, it's always your choice. Honestly, I avoided Vegas for several generations. it's also, yeah, Remo himself, he wasn't over exaggerated.
No. Yeah.
Some of the sons maybe, yeah, and this is also something I don't have any Remo in my breed right now, so it's open for that. Ober Bad Boll, he wasn't over exaggerated in the
Yeah.
hind angulations. So
And also very good character.
Yeah, there have been dogs with who didn't turn it to the more extreme. Yeah, but of course you can also go for the lucky punch, to use the popular dogs always and only, and hope for the best. It's, for me, when you do only 1 or 2 litters a year, I'm not the one, let's see what it brings. I make my mind, and sometimes it works, of course, sometimes it doesn't, but that's nature. Yeah, but it's not trying to, let's breed with them and maybe it works. That's not my my thinking in breeding.
Well, thank God for that. And to talk about piggybacking on the character aspect of it and moderate dogs aspect of it, we were talking off the conversation, of course, beforehand. We were talking about some dogs that were the crossover dogs, let's say. We had Cliff from Hunegrab all these years ago. That was shown at the BSP, that's the Working German Championship, the Bundesliga Prüfung. In my opinion, that is the pinnacle of working dog sport in the entire world. It's not the WSV Championship or the FCI Championship. The highest caliber dogs, in my opinion, I mean, that's just my opinion, are at the BSP. And so we had, from our type of dogs, we had Cliff and Hunegrab there. Then more recently, we had other dogs that were at a high level in working championships. And Odin Hulkemperhof son, Balak Zurwaringer Reinhau comes to mind. Then we had a Kronos from Nürnbergring son from Enosh Amasis. Going back to Oberbad Ball, we had Max Team Alet that springs to mind. Then we had another dog from the United States, from the high breeding. Zambo was his name. He was Negus from Hulkemper son. So we have multiple dogs. I mean, you can call these, canaries in the coal mine, that these dogs are still showing that you have the temperament or the character to compete at the highest elevation in the work. And these were also very highly rated, quote unquote, show dogs, or in the breed shows, they were highly rated dogs. Now, this time we had a real phenomena with this dog called Jim from Messina, who competed successfully at the Bundesliga Prüfung. And he passed all 3 phases with high SG scores, and is a good looking dog with great hair, good pigmentation. And to quote Max from Stefanitz, the founder of our breed, any dog that can work is the right color.
Yeah.
So what do we talk about? What can we say about, the state of the character of the breed when somebody says, no, we must bring in Malinois to make more temperament for the German Shepherd, or we must only breed the working lines because now they are 2 separate populations completely, which I personally disagree with. But what light would you share on that?
These examples you pointed out are rare examples, but good examples that dogs from showline are capable to compete on the highest sports level. The thing is, you hardly find one of these people who do highest sports level that want to spend their time in a showline dog. Why should they? Because the past has shown, if you have a dog from show lines that will compete on the highest working level, the working breeders will not use him. The showline breeders will, some of them will use him, but also they will not use him because they hardly have the VA anatomy. They have a decent V anatomy, like Jim Messina also. He has a decent anatomy, but not the highest level, but he can compete in the, he also did last year in the working class, I guess, around V30, when I remember correctly. So this is a anatomically also a good dog. But the people in the show line, they will also pick the higher dogs instead. But it shows, these dogs show and prove that the character of the show line dogs is not as weak as some people are telling that it should be, or it's not that bad.
So when we talk about, VA anatomy and V anatomy, we had Balak that was elevated, I think, from late V's in the 60s. He was probably in the late 60s to early 70 V's when he was presented before he did all these giant trials on the working side. And then he was later on, brought in the top 10 V group, and then he made VA. He was the last VA, I believe, under Mr. Maya. So also another important thing I remember him doing was when Javier Talcamarda, when he became the German champion, the working champion, he was encouraged to present a progeny group, which he did in the stadium to a big applause.
Mm-hmm.
There were some crossover breedings. There was a female, Benny Dulmental. It was a VA female bred to Javier. She produced a very nice working male, Finsterling Dulmental, that competed in local trials and middle-level trials in Germany. And it was not maybe a super red and black dog with a lot of hair, but it was a correct German Shepherd with good proportions that had the ability to work. But these dogs never found a lot of promise in breeding or popularity in breeding, even when the judges tried to push the breed in the right side. So again, we can't really say the onus lies with the judge. I think the onus lies with the breeders who are trying to breed what populations they're trying to breed.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's if the breeders don't accept these opportunities, it will only be opportunities.
Absolutely.
Balak Worringer Rheinauer was Reinhard Meyer's opportunity for the breeder, saying this is a dog with highest character level, highest working level, also decent anatomy. If you want to improve the character and the working abilities of your breed, use him. People didn't. The thing with Javier is, on the one hand, I understood but on the other hand, it's if you had your male placed right behind Javier, you would have looked at it and said, where's the competition now? Why should my dog that will beat him at every Sunday now be behind him? That's a difficult situation.
I agree with that point, most definitely. It was more of a symbolic position.
Yeah. Could we just make a short break? My daughter is calling. I'll be right back, okay?
Sounds good. So amongst the top males that were placed this year, or any males this year, which were the dogs of prime interest to you, the attitude of the crowd towards them, in your opinion, and which males you think will have a positive impact for the future?
This is this is a very difficult question. Future will, if I knew, I could make a lot of money.
Let's play the lottery then.
Yes. Yeah. The young classes, they need to find their ways first. Yeah. We had the young dog Sieger. He was pushed by the crowd. He showed a very powerful presentation. Therefore, in the competition, he was he won with also the crowd behind him. That was okay. Those in the young dog class, the top 3, 4, 5, I guess they have good perspectives, of course. In the youth class males is always a very difficult class, in my opinion, because you never know what how they will develop furthermore, and trial work will come. So this is something you really need to wait. I think the judges did their best with the presented dogs. The numbers were low. We had higher entries, low presentation. So maybe that needs to be analyzed. Why the dogs are not in the show finally, as the people enter the dogs and then refuse to show them, even in the stand. So that needs to be we need to analyze that. In the working class, the decisions Bernd Weber made with the young males without progeny is also a try, I guess. We need to see if the people will follow it.
There is a historical precedence for this, though. We had Laus von Batu included in the VA group at 2 years of age.
Yeah, we had,
who went on to become
in the past. We had it several times that
yes,
youth Sieger, young dog Sieger went straight to VA. That's not.
Yeah, I remember. I remember the right.
Yeah, that's not the thing. What I mean. We have the Chivago Budbol. He did a lot of breedings, so he if it would. I would be surprised if the dog would not show a good and large progeny group next year. Sure. The other two had only few breedings. So if they can prove at next year, this needs to be seen. So the risk that it won't work is also there, but it could also work. Why not? Both dogs deserve the chance.
From the young classes, from jogging my memory back into the past, the only dog I can remember from the youth class that was an absolute standout and you knew that this dog would do something in the future was Sam from Temados. So you knew this dog was years ahead of the rest of the pack that came with him. And he proved himself in the breeding. And it was very obvious that this dog was there to bring the powers of essentially the breeding prowess of Esko Dänischenhof into the next generation through him. He was the progenitor of that bloodline. And do you find any transcending dogs like that in the current lineup at the moment?
Sam Thermodos, you said?
Yes.
Sam Thermodos was a son of Quantum Arminius.
Correct.
Visum.
And the mother was Esko Dänischenhof daughter.
Oh, that's your reference. But he was not type of Esko Dänischenhof.
And sure, but I'm saying this the mother family that's coming through from all the sons of Quantum. There is no successful Quantum sons outside of Sam Thermodos that you can see so heavily featured in different families, multiple VAs over generations and generations and generations. Of course, he did not have the hair type of Esko, but the production and the quality of females was very much like Esko, is what I meant.
I see. Well, you can't. For me, in my opinion, it's difficult to compare the dogs 15 or 20 years ago to the current situation, because at that time we had more than double of puppies in Germany. The breeding, we had more breeders, we had more progeny, more offspring to show show off, to see if the dog is really producing or not. What we have now is we have the stud male owners looking out for their progeny and their progeny group, and that's it. So the thing, if a male really produces, is hard to say, and it will be he can show in 2 or 3 years if he produces or not. If he can't show right away, or you can judge his producing qualities in 3 or 4 or 5 years, but not right at the moment.
So do you have any highlights of any families that are featured heavily in the breed right now? And if you would like to see that trend continue, or would you like to see that trend change?
Well, we can't build a new family lines. So we have the family lines going with the Remo offspring. We have a few out of the Vegas line. We have few out of the Ober line coming, and that's about it, isn't it?
I would reckon so, yes.
So we have the going back to Quenlöer Weg. We have with Hugh Eichenplatz and Villas Grafenbrunn. We have the new VA male also. Yeah. So it's hard to tell which we have now. We have a brighter variety, and of course it's the same like we also discussed the last time when we had Uran and Quando, and the people started maybe it's a fine idea to mix the Uran daughters with the Quando grandsons. So all the thinking that we have 2 different lines, the breeders just said, that's nice, but we if we mix it, then it's fine. So the families get closer, and it's the same here. As long as we have a Remo 3 male, he will be used by the Remo females.
Yes.
So the offspring will not be Remo 3 anymore.
Right.
It's so we need to face it. It's just that way it will be over the years.
Also, we tend to just map the families over the Y chromosome haplogroup. So we're just following the father's father and the father's father and the father's father to map the genealogy, when in real life breeding is a lot more complex, because the puppy also has a mother, and the mother has also another mother. So we tend to completely ignore that side of the family, and a lot of problems or good things can come from those sides of the family as well, how it's progenerated in the future. So none of the females from a male will carry his Y chromosome. So that haplogroup ends right there. But it does not mean that the male's influence ended in his daughters.
No, of course not. And we can't, if we think of a bloodline, we can't forget if the bloodline we want to avoid is in the mother line. So then it's no
exactly.
It's no blood alternative if the mother line carries the same as all the popular lines have. So
So essentially all the 4 dogs that we mentioned, they all literally go back to one dog that we were discussing the last time too, is Quanto Vinarau. We have no other blood outside of right now of Quanto Vinarau.
Looks that way, yeah.
So this would be, I think, maybe in the future it could lead to problems, as we have the bottleneck is becoming a dead end. So where do we branch off from here?
I don't think we can't turn back time. We need need to work what we have with what we have. We don't have other options than using these dogs for breeding and trying to avoid the heavy line breeding, the nearest line breeding, and we can't get the families more wide. It's just not happening anymore. We have what we have right now. We need to work with. It's not
So when we
option.
look at, so when we had, when Mr. Meyer so many years ago did that crossover, encouraged that crossover breeding with Benny Dulmental, agreed that was not a success. It was a learning lesson. Do you think there might be some scope in moving in that direction to increase the gene pool of the dogs? Because that's another part of the breed that is completely ignored right now from both sides.
Yeah, it's theoretically, of course, it would widen the breed, but no breeder who is looking for breed success will do it, because he either wants to have a showline dog with the best possible foundation, or he wants to have a working dog. And I know some breeders, they do the crossover breedings from time to time, and these dogs also show the standard, no problem. The thing is,
and we're back.
So what was the last? Where were we interrupted?
we were talking about the two populations, and we are approaching basically a very tight bottleneck in the breed, and we have to talk about diversification in the blood. Not to say that the working lines are infallible, that they're perfect. They have a lot of issues too. They have allergy issues. They have hips and elbow problems. They have spine problems, so on and so forth. There can be a lot of nervous dogs coming from the working lines. Not to say that the show lines are perfect. They can have a lot of physical limitations. They can also have bad hips and elbows, bad digestion issues, whatnot. That's a problem in every line. But to bring the best of both sides together, to just marry the dogs that have the right physical attributes with the right character to the right physical attributes and the right character from either side that is complementary to each other. So what I'm trying to say is, maybe don't you think that the evaluation criteria might be a little too extreme on both sides? Like we talked about Jim Messina being, it's a normal V dog. Maybe he's not the highest caliber anatomically for the VA, but I think maybe he is important because for the breed, when we are missing this big part of character, that is a part of the breed standard as well, that is missing in a lot of dogs. So he can bring that, since it's a breed show and it's a breed event. So we bring forward breeding dogs, because it's not just, it's not an all breed show or a best in show award, so to speak.
Yeah, sure. It's I'm not on the I can follow your thoughts, and they are right, but I have no idea how to manage it.
Sure.
It's we if we want to break this situation, we need a radical cut, saying in line breeding 10 generations is a no-go. Then the people need to do that. But I think the people would just stop doing it then.
Sure. No. I understand. I think more regulation, in my opinion, is never the answer. That's just my opinion. Call it a libertarian.
Yeah. Yeah, the people need to, as I said, the responsibility is up to the judges to say this is too much. But the responsibility is also with the breeders facing. It's not only that we need to follow the wish of the market, we need also to see what's best for the dogs. But with regulations, yeah.
Right. That was my point. We keep. There was a really interesting thing. I had a conversation with Mr. Ben Weber. So talking about health test regulations and size and this and that. So it was really interesting. He made a pie chart and he says, this is our total population. We take out all the dogs with the hips. We take out another pie. We take out all the dogs that could not make the IPO titles. We take out another pie of the dogs that could not make the breed survey. Now we take out all the dogs with the spondy. Now we take out all the dogs with DM that's not NN. It's like, and then we are not left with any population at all when we remove all these dogs for slight imperfections. And when in nature, nobody is perfect or nothing is perfect. Everything has faults. Everything has its downfalls and upsides. So when we're only looking for fault judging, the croup is not long enough. The head must be it must be bigger, and we're trending to these giant Molosser Rottweiler type heads and saying that this is a masculine head when it's completely not in the breed standard. Or we're saying, oh yeah, the forearm and the upper arm, this is the forearm and upper arm we want, but the dog does not have the power inside to jump over a wall. So what good is that upper arm? This dog will not run all day in the field to fulfill the shepherd part, the Schäferhund part of the Deutsche Schäferhund.
Yeah, true. We need, in my opinion, we need to set criteria for faults. We really need to ban. We really need to erase, like with the angulation problem, with the stability problem. We need to write or to define what's okay and what is not okay anymore, and then we need to erase that, because breeding is also selecting, and if we select the really bad things out of the breed, it can turn to the better, and we need to get better again.
Absolutely. So do you have any suggestions for that to go in that direction?
Yeah, I would. I also spoke to Bernd Weber. We tried, or we should discuss major faults we need to get rid of in the breed. And we also need to give regulations to the judges to say, if a dog has this major fault, what is the consequence about it? Is the consequence only to place him in the back, or is the consequence also to get in the rating? Yeah. What we do right now is, if a dog with over exaggeration angulation, he still gets a V rating. Is that the way we want to follow or not? That's the thing we need to discuss.
Absolutely. And of course, there's the character. So we're looking at the character. Famously, Margaret, I've seen Mrs. Van Dorsen. She'd walk right up to a dog with her clipboard in hand and looking for a reaction from the dog outside of the gunfire to see if the dog will shy away from her, if the dog is curious, if the dog remains normal, or if the dog is submissive. And she would sometimes feature that previously that I've seen into her final rating to make sure that there's no nervous dog that is afraid from an approaching person come in the front. Would there be any other criteria like that a judge can self-impose instead of having it being policy? Or the breeder should look for, I should say, maybe not even the judge self-imposing. Because there was a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot of, there was a couple of famous German dogs that found a lot of use in breeding in Germany that I saw in person, and I found the character little less than ideal, and I decided to stay away from them. Consequently, as it comes out, their children down the line have similar problems in their character, because of course it's a part of their genetic makeup. They will pass that on
Okay.
when you, especially when you breed it to the same females, because there's a limited population and a limited number of ancestors. So what would your suggestion be for that?
Yeah, I think we need to check the character in every possible way. If it's necessary to judge every dog at a show, I don't think so. We have the breed survey that should check the character. We have also the big shows that should be an evaluation of that. If the judges there follow the rules, it should work.
And going back to the question of influential breeding lines that you think, of course you can't tell the future, you don't have a crystal ball, but if you had to make a prediction towards the trends, let's say where your kennel would progress, which dogs would you be attracted to for your own personal breeding, and for what reasons?
Yeah, I really like from the current dogs, I really like Chivago Bad Boy. Sure. I did the breed survey. I was the judge for the breed survey, and the young dog did well. He did nice. Now he looks like he has a very stable character, very decent foundation of that. And going back to Oberbadball, that's what we expect from that line also. But it's yeah, I'm far away of criticizing a dog by a single situation. It's all about preparation. It's all about presentation. Guck mal drin. And we will have to wait and see. It's really hard to tell if a special line is good or bad in character. There are so many things that
I don't just mean character. I just don't mean character. I mean the overall better of the dogs. When we're looking at not just temperament, we're looking at the anatomy, trending towards a more moderate dog. So the golden middle.
Yeah.
It's not too crazy. It's not too submissive. It's in the Goldilocks zone, that it's got just right of everything.
Well, the offer of males we have right now is a large variety, all of very high standard, very high quality. Some have more to offer in, let's say, in substance. Some have more to offer in performance. Some have more to offer in anatomy itself. And every breeder needs to find his way, and not only look for the best possible way to sell the puppies, but to improve their own breed. That's what I would suggest. It can work with every line, because we have I'm no fan of what the people say, that the quality is worse than it was. It's not. The quality that we have in the dogs right now is really high, and it's up to us what we do about it.
Absolutely, I agree. I've never had dogs better than the dogs that I have today. It's completely true. The quality has gotten significantly better, whether we're talking about the workability of the dogs, the drive of the dogs, the look of the dogs that we want. There's moderate dogs there today as well. There's dogs with firm backlines. There's dogs of correct size, 62, 63 centimeter males that are masculine still exist. But it's up to the people if they want to use the 66 centimeter male, because he has, of course, a bigger head on a bigger body than the more proportionate 63 centimeter male.
Yep, exactly.
Would you like to add anything else in closing?
closing. It was nice talking to you again, and right now it's getting a little noisy outside here. So, but dogs get noisy.
Sure.
Um,
That's a part of the bargain. They can't talk. They have to talk. They can only bark.
exactly. Yeah. So maybe next time you come back with new questions, and I hope I can give some decent answers. Maybe hopefully I didn't sound too stupid this time.
No,
It was a
you were
pleasure as
great.
always.
You were great the last time. It's always my pleasure to talk to you, sir. It's always enlightening to see, how the proverbial sausage is made when I speak to you about the inner workings of the SV, and you being a lawyer in your real life outside of the dogs. The nuanced answers that you give are always very enlightening. Thank you so much.
You also have a good time. To the
You as
next
well,
time.
sir.
All
Take
right.
care.
Bye bye.